Hey folks, it's Russ with Wrenching with Russ, and we're here at my shop. This is Hilljack Trucking and Repair, and today we're going to show you how to repair a compressor on a 2003 Mack. It's a Mack Granite CV713, and we're going to show you how to take the lines off. We're going to show you how to replace the compressor after you remove it, all the parts that you need to transfer over, and we're going to replace the dryer. So with that said, let's get started.
All right, all you grease monkeys. The first thing you want to do is drain the antifreeze from the truck. That's the first project. And then once you get all your antifreeze drained, you're going to take the lines off of it and methodically take them off one by one. You're going to have two coolant lines and you're going to have a couple of air lines. You want to make sure that you take all this off before you do anything else. And as you can see, it's not going to be that hard. There's only 3 bolts that hold this compressor on. So once you got your lines off, the second thing you want to do is locate the bolts, and then you're going to back those bolts out. Make sure you're holding on to this thing, because this compressor weighs about 70 pounds, so you could really get hurt if it falls out. It's got some fittings that you're going to want to take out. We're going to show you a little later on in the video how to do all that, but this is the first step. Alright, at this point, as you can see, there's 3 bolts on the underside of this. So once you take these 3 bolts out, this thing's going to be ready to come out. So back those bolts out and maintain this thing, holding on to it. Now I'm going to show you right here, this is our new compressor. It's a Bendix. This is the one going back in. And again, this is on a 2003 Mack Granite CV713. So I'll show you down inside of this. It does not come with this gear. You want to purchase this gear, make sure you get this because it does not come with it. But you want to press it on there. It's got a keyway and it's got a locking nut. So what we used was a 20-ton press with an oversized sockets. You do not want to pound this on there because you could damage the gear and it won't line up right. So there's a gasket that goes on the front of it, so make sure that you get all this with it. You'll press that gear in there on the keyway and then you'll lock it in. And then every one of these ports on the side are for your in and out coolant and for your air lines. So every one of these is going to have something in it. Alright, this is the old compressor. We took this out, and I want to show you on the front of this. Right here, this is the old gear, and as you can see there's a lot of oil on this, so that's the reason why we're replacing this, because we know that it's got a bad piston in there. So there's a keyway inside of that, and there's also an alignment pin. So you'll want to take that alignment pin out of there, and I'll show you how to do that. But these are all the fittings, and we're going to transfer all these fittings over to this new compressor. Some of these you might want to replace. I would suggest replacing the pop-off valve. Now this is the guide pin. You just pull that out and put it in the new one, and that basically just helps you to realign this on that spline. And then on this particular compressor, we used almost every one of these fittings, again, except for the pressure valve. I wouldn't use anything less than a 250 psi pressure valve on this. And then again, just transfer everything over, and I would do it one at a time, and I would do it fitting for fitting. That way you don't get anything mixed up or in the wrong spot. Okay, at this point we've got all the fittings switched over. Something to keep in mind also is make sure that you align these fittings to where the hose is going to line up with it, because it can get kind of difficult while you're underneath there once you get it mounted to line up the air lines and to line up these coolant lines if the fitting is not in the right direction. Okay, now I'm going to show you the final product here that we're going back in on the truck. This is the new compressor with all the different fittings on it. And as you can see, again, we use most of our old fittings. The only thing we're not going to reuse is the pressure valve on the side. And now it's ready to go back in the truck. Alright, now we're going to show you how to install it back in the truck. This is easiest to be installed from up underneath. Here's the gear that I was telling you about. This is the gear that's on the truck. Make sure that the compressor is lined up with that gear. And it might take 2 or 3 attempts to actually get it on there, but you got to make sure that's lined up right. If not, you could strip the gear out and you're going to be out a lot of money on a bad compressor. So right now what I'm showing you is putting the compressor back on. Alright, you're going to want to try to feed the compressor from up underneath, and there's going to be difficult. There's lines in the way and everything else. The first thing you want to do is make sure that your gasket is on the end of the compressor, and be sure not to tear it because it's just a paper gasket. But once you get it lined up and you get it onto the gear, as you can see, our second attempt at this, it didn't really go right on because, again, the splines weren't lining up. So just tilt it to the right a little bit and it should drop right in. You can see that ours did. Alright, now we're on the gear. Here we're just going to show you that it's going to slide right on once you're lined up. Now you want a guy on top and start threading the bolts in. And once you get these 3 bolts in, again, that's the only thing to hold this compressor on. You're going to just want to start by process of reverse. You want to put your air lines back on. You want to put your coolant lines back on. And that's what we're doing right now. And I'm not quite sure what the torque specs are on this, but if you're like us, we crank them down till they're tight. Alright, so now we got the compressor back in there, and then we're just going to double check, make sure that everything's in place, all of our lines are on, and then we're going to make sure we fill this thing up with coolant, and that's pretty much how you do it. Hope that like us, you learn how to do this stuff and you can save yourself thousands and thousands of dollars. Why pay someone else to do it when you can do it yourself? If you liked it, hit that subscribe and like button, and we're going to have plenty more videos on how to fix stuff for you and save you thousands of dollars.